Well, it's been 15 days since I made a video. Now, as you all know, my my cutting mat has seen better days. So, let's see. Ta-da! New mat. Mind you, I'm not going to put it on here because I'll ruin it. But it's still in the bag. But I'll take it out of the bag just to... There we go. Oh, it's a different brand as well. I wonder if this one will survive better. This one's silver. Silver line. Oh, well, let's hope so. I don't know yet. We'll see. But I'm going to try and not to spill acetone on it like I do with my other mat. Now, the reason I'm getting a new mat out is because that other mat is just... It's horrible. It's messy. It cost me about £2.50 or something. It's silly for this new mat. And having got the new mat, I'm going to put a piece of paper on it. One of my magnet holders. I haven't picked the best one. I've got various. Actually, I'll show you just a minute. Let's see now. If I put the light on, it might help. Oh dear. Okay, right. This update video. Got some light on it, and my scope's still in bits. I haven't got around to sorting that out. It's a nightmare. Now I've got 4 magnet holders here so far. I only need 2 of these, and to explain it, and one in the centre. But there's going to be some design changes, and I'll explain that in this video. Now these are 4 concentrics, right? And basically these are the ones that go on the end. That's actually the middle one. It's made out of 2 halves of. If you look, I've stuck 2 halves together. So I've got the recess in the middle, and this one actually goes in the centre. So we basically have. If I can do this, I'm blocking the light as well. Can't win. Right, turn the light over there. So we basically have a concentric magnet holder on one. This thing's not level, so things keep rolling off it. And we have a concentric magnet holder on the other end, and the coil bobbins go in between. Right, we've got that. I just want to show you that first. I'll put these back down again so they don't roll everywhere. Now I'm going to go back to my drawing and explain. Okay, I'm going to draw this on paper because I hate using the mouse to try to draw anything. I've done this with my rulers. These are the magnet holders, right? So we've got let's see, concentric magnet 1, concentric magnet holder 2, concentric magnet holder 3. Now really the magnet holder in the middle in the new configuration isn't going to have any magnets in it really, because I'll explain that in a minute. Because we've got our rotors. Now the new configuration, right, currently I'm actuating the centre. There's a ball bearing there, and on the other side we have a ball bearing, and we have our cores. Now at the moment we're using cores through the middle, right? So we've just got, I better get my ruler again. Oh, so I'm going to make a mess of this. So at the moment we've really just got our cores running through the middle of the bobbins. The bobbins are in the gaps in between. Now, the new configuration is going to be slightly different, because at the moment what we're doing is we're actuating the concentric magnet holder on one end, biasing it and sending either north or south pole through the centre, which comes through and which attracts north on the centre concentric, right, at the moment. And the opposite is true on this side. So it will be north on the far end, and that will be attracting south from the centre concentric. Now the new configuration, this is basically going to eliminate the need for the middle concentric, because it's going to be actuated twice instead of just once. Now at the moment it's actuated at this end, and the center magnetic field is basically passive, so it's actually divided by 2 in power efficiency, because we're actually having to pull on the magnets in the center as well as push the magnetic field, push and pull the magnetic fields on this end. We're also actually pushing and pulling, well, we're pulling fields on this end, so we're losing energy basically by doing it like this. So there's a new configuration which I'm working on, which is using some like stator plates basically, where there's going to be another ball bearing here, and there's going to be another ball bearing here, and these are going to be coupled to another set of coils. So we're going to have our center coils running through, and we're also going to be having, I'm just drawing a single line to represent 12 coils, because otherwise it's going to get very, very messy very, very fast. So we're using, each one of these lines represents 12 coils, right? So 12 coils. I've just put 12C, and this is 12C, and this is actually this 12C goes all the way around. So I'll scribble that out. So we've got, I'll just put this down here as well so you can see 12C, 12. I've got a count right. 12C, right? We've got 12 coils in the middle to the center coils, and we've got 12C coils to the outside coils, right? So the center is actuated by, say, our rotors passing, and we have, say, self here, right? Now that self field is going to be biasing this concentric in the middle, south, right? While at the same time there are magnets on either side on the disc, on the same disc, and they're spaced out in such a way that when this south pole is here, there will be a north pole over here, and there will be a north pole over here. So what we have to do is we have to couple it so that when the south is actually in the middle, right here, it's coupled to the center core, and the north is coupled to the outside core on each side. So we're going to have south coming through on here, and we're going to have north on here and here, right? Well, the opposite is going to be the case on the other side. So we're going to have the same thing going on this side, only it'll be the opposite. So it'll be north biased in the middle, south biased on the ends. Of course, if the rotor moves and the north moves up to the outside concentric, then we're going to have 2 norths on the outside concentrics and south in the middle again, just like we did over here. But it depends on the rotor's actual position, because it's all about timing. So as the north magnet is actually pushing north through the concentric here, it's going to be pulling south back this way. And this south is going to be pushing south from that concentric on the other side of the magnets, and it's going to be pulling north back. So basically, let's see if I can show you this. Right, I've got a few of the magnets here, right? Okay, I've got a few magnets here. Look. Now, the concentric is going to be arranged such that the magnets are actually positioned in the concentric so that the magnetism on the one on the north, on this end, is going to be deflected from this side of the magnets, and the south on the other side of the magnets will be deflected from this side of the magnets. Okay, I'm simplifying it. Right, let's just get the concentric and I'll stick them in there so I can see, right? I haven't got that many magnets, right? I put the magnets in the concentric, right? So we're going to have actuation coils in the center here, which is what these 12 slots are. Oh, it stuck to my pen. Hang on. Right, we're going to have, I'll get my plastic thingamajig. We're going to have 12 concentric coils there, right? So this magnet might be polarized with south pushing in, but an adjacent magnet might be positioned with north pushing in, so it might be south, north, south, north, pushing in. Whereas on the other side, where it's south on the inside, it'll be north on the outside. So it will be south inside, north outside. So it'll be north, south on the outside, and it will be south, north, south, north. You get the idea. Anyway, so and there will be actuator cores, right, around the outside of the concentric. Now this is the fiddly part, because I have to make a C-clamp, a C bracket that goes all the way around half moon shape on each side. And this half moon bracket will be coupled to little steel laminates which poke through on the other side of these magnets. And it's these steel laminates that come through that are going to be actuated, as well as the center ones. So you know how the center ones work. You've seen that before, the ball bearing and the steel rods coming through, and they're actually switched on and off depending on the polarization of the rotor magnets. Well, the same is true for the outside. It's just a little bit more fiddly, and it's a little tricky for me to get the magnetic field to be switched through a long piece of steel. Now that is a challenge, and obviously I may have to make this steel in a peculiar shape. It may have to be, I may have to make various design changes to that. At the moment I'm thinking of, well, I can actually show you anyway, just a minute. Well, I'm just going to show you off the computer screen for now, but at the moment basically we have the actuators which are going to be consisting of this blue section with a dimple for ball bearing, right? This is what the dimple is. These laminations are 0.9mm thick, and they'll be stacked, so they're about 4 or 5 in thickness, so that the laminations will basically be, what's the word? The axis will be such that the laminations are facing towards the magnetic field. So they won't be laid flat, because we're looking at this in a flat angle. Imagine that was laid flat on a table. Well, it'll be upright so that the actual aperture for the ball bearing is actually pointing towards your face, and you wouldn't see it really. So this is what my current design is. Now these have to be bent in a C shape once I get them. Okay. So these laminations will actually go around this concentric magnet holder, and it will bias the outside cores, and there'll be 12 of them. As you can see, there's 12 magnet slots in here, right? So imagine my screwdriver is one core, right? And another core, another core. So each core will be adjacent to a magnetic field of, say, north, south, north, south. And when it's being biased, the general principle is that if a south pole magnet is biasing it, it will attract the north pole towards it, but it will deflect the south pole towards the coil, which will be in between the outside concentric and the inside concentric. The inside concentric is not actually going to be holding magnets in this particular configuration, because the magnetic field will be basically in a U shape. So instead of the North Pole here coming through and receiving South Pole from the middle concentric, it will actually be pulling the South Pole from the outside. So we have South from the outside cores, and we have North on the inside cores. So the configuration will be completely different, and it will be a much bigger gain on the magnetic field than what we were before, because instead of having one passive in the middle, we have three actives. Yeah, get it? We have a center active and we have 2 outside actives, right? And so we're having 3 active concentric magnetic switching in effect, whereas before we had 1 active and 1 passive. So we should have a much improved gain. And basically the steel cores will run through to the center concentric, and there'll be washers there. There'll be a steel washer which will cause these to be coupled together at this end. So just to show you what I mean, Right, here's one of the new bobbins, right? It's going to have 12 coils running through the middle, and there's going to be 12 coils running around the outside. But I'm actually having a new bobbin 3D printed at the moment, so there's actually going to be 12 slots, 12 holes around the outside rim as well, just to actually anchor the coils in place. Because at the moment, if I was to build this, the coils would be free floating around the outside of the bobbin without actually anchoring to the bobbin, and the only thing that would be holding them in place is the concentric magnet holder, which is fine, but I would prefer that they were anchored to the bobbin itself, simply because it just looks better that way. Now, once we have the actuation going on, and as I said, there'll be a return loop between the center magnetic concentric and the outside. Well, that's where the steel washer would be in effect on one end of the bobbin. So imagine the coils are all coming through here, steel coils are coming through these holes, and 12 steel coils are coming around the outside. We stick a washer on the end, and we have a return loop. You got that so far, right? Basically, what we're talking about is a conventional transformer, effectively. I'll just show you what I mean. Well, this particular one has got broken, but as you know, this is an all ferrite transformer with an air gap in the middle, and it's basically shaped like a big E on each side. And we have, as you can see from this transformer, we have the outside, which will be possibly polarized in one polarization like north, and the inside, which might be polarized south, in a half cycle waveform format. Obviously, in AC it's oscillating, which means it's changing. Right, okay, so you can see what I'm talking about with this, right? Well, we're simply doing a similar thing by having the steel washer on here, because this steel washer basically represents one end of this transformer. But on our design, the other end is open because it's been actuated by external rotors, magnets on rotors. So the other end is actually open and is actuated, whereas on a conventional transformer, it's a sealed closed loop system. Ours isn't a closed loop system. Ours is open-ended, right? It's open-ended and actuated on one end. Right, the video's at 18 minutes now, and I was talking to myself the other day. I was thinking to myself, it's time I made another YouTube video. I've been so busy because my mum's been sick and she's been in hospital, and so this is it basically. And I'm just updating you on what's going on at the moment with my designs and my improvements and everything else. I was working all this out, and I was trying to think of a way of improving it. Instead of having a passive active central core, I decided that was probably a weakness in the design. So I've gone through a three-way active system on each end. It's actually 6 if you count the ones on the other end as well, because there's rotors on this side, there's rotors on this side, and the one in the middle is simply going to be there for supporting the weight of everything, really. Nothing more than that in this configuration. Thanks for watching.